is going to be the ninth technical session, and you have listened to the presentation of Jaswinder Kaur Aulak and Dinesh Kumar for the next sessions. And here is an introduction about the chairperson, Dinesh Kumar, who has been working as an assistant professor of English at Dayal Singh College, Karnal, for the last 15 years as a permanent faculty member of Department of English. And at present, he is among the senior members of Department of English. He is MA MPhil in English for Kurukshetra, and he has attended number of national and international conferences, seminars, workshops in India as well as outside India. He has more than 40 research papers to his credit in various national as well as international journals. Besides, he also has contributed 10 book chapters on different topics on feminism, ecofeminism, translation study, linguistic, and postcolonialism in different books published in ISBN numbers. Apart from it, he is a sole author of two books, George Orwell's Social Vision, a critical study, and Voices in Literature. So these two were published with ISBN number. And he's also working as an active member in editorial boards of different national and international journals since 2015. So we are happy to have him as the chairperson to preside over the technical session number 9. Hello, sir.
Again. 26.
A very good afternoon to you all. The next we will proceed with the technical session, and the chairperson will be Dinesh Kumar, and the presenters are Deepanvita Naskar, PhD scholar, Department of English, Jadavpur University, and the second person is Chandini Bhanu, Department of English, Sri Padmavati Mahila University, Tirupati, Andhra Pradesh, and the third presenter is Farouz Ahmad Ghani, and the fourth one is Rex Lumen Nirmal Jail of Anevalangani College, and the fifth one will be B.S. Deepa of Anevalangani College, research scholar. And shall I call Deepanvita Naskar to present your paper? Paper is on the gendered body in the postcolonial myth, poetic drama, Karnat's Yayati, and the fire and the rain.
Am I audible?
Are you ready?
Hello. Yes.
Hello.
Am I
Yeah,
audible,
please.
ma'am?
Yes. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you for the lovely introduction. And I request all of you to please kindly mute the microphones because there are some sounds coming in. Okay, so I'll just start with my paper. The title of the paper is The Gendered Body in the Post-Colonial Mythopic Drama, Karnat's Yayati and the Fire and the Rain. So the paper proposes to look at the untold tales of the rebelling bodily desires, dissenting sexuality, corporal experiences of the dislocated, dispossessed other, as recorded in the revisionist plays written by one of the most important contemporary Indian English dramatists, Girish Karnad. These plays that are rich with symbolism and spiritualism intriguingly deal with the complex ideas of myth and reality, past and present, gender and performance. Carnard, like many other post-colonial literary artists, recurrently goes back to the ancient myths while reframing and appropriating them in order to reflect on the complexities and conflicts of the contemporary human life. His post colonial mythopic works often deal with the complex intersections of myth, history, culture, and human psyche. Aparna Bhargava Dharwarkar contains in a critical work, Theatres of Independence, that Girish Karnad invents a structure in which the use of folk conventions is ironic and reflexive, as well as expedient and natural, and where the action occupies at once the mythic realm of folk culture and the historical present. Barbara A. Holdreg, in her essay Body Connections Hindu Discourses of the Body and the Study of Religion, radically claims that the distinction between mind and body, spirit and matter, in its various formulations in Western philosophy, from Plato to Aristotle to Descartes, is a historical and gendered dichotomy. The mind, characterized as the non material abode of reason and consciousness, is correlated with the male and is relegated to a position of superiority over the body, which is characterized as the material abode of a non-rational appetitive functions and correlated with the female. So, following this contention, there are many post-colonial writers who actually often focuses on the use of body as a weapon of protest, as a form of protest. So, through his plays, Karnad has often attempted to explore and analyze the problems of the contemporary society. Thus, he explains to have any value at all, drama must at some level engage honestly with the contradictions that lie at the heart of the society it talks to and about. Here, hence, it can be noted that in many of his deconstructive mythopic plays, Karnad focuses on the tormented, subjugated, gendered body of the marginalized other in an attempt to exert resistance against the hierarchical institutions of caste, class, and gender. In an attempt to, for example, Yayati and the Fire and the Rain, the two texts that I am focusing on, two of his most notable plays that undertake the task of retelling legendary epic tales, significantly underline the subversive use of the sexualized body of the subliminal being in attaining a particular kind of subjectivity. Whereas the meta-theatrical drama, The Fire and the Rain, remarkably fuses the Vedic concepts of Natya, yajna, and sacrifice with the complicated ideas of fragmented identities, spiritual and fleshly longings, and disquieting physical experiences. The existential play, on the other hand, Yayati, we have often, we have often heard this word, often heard this title of the play, Yayati, dramatically reinforces the ancient mythic characters in new forms and reappropriates the mythical story as a commentary on life, death, sexuality, jealousy, ambition, and desire. So, Karnad's 1961 dramatic creation, Yayati, revisits and retells the mythical tale from the Mahabharata. Mahabharata, the epic from our country, which is obviously also the basis of almost universal culture of the country, which focuses on the story of King Yayati, who, led by his overarching desire for eternal youth, sought to borrow his own son Puru's youthful vitality. This mythopic drama principally deals with the psychological turmoil experienced by the displaced, dispossessed female characters like Sharmishta and Chitralekha. On one hand, Sharmishta, who is the Asura, non-Aryan princess who was enslaved by her Brahmin friend Devyani, directly challenges the hierarchical systems of caste, class endorsed by the Aryan Brahminical society through her insurgent act of seducing King Yayati, who is Devyani's husband, and on the other hand, Puru's wife, Puru means Yayati's son, Puru's wife Chitralekha transgressively questions the ideas of sacrifice, glory, and honor through the subversive voice of her sexuality before embracing death in a supreme act of defiance. Radical feminist scholar Helen Sizu contains that it's with her body that she vitally supports the logic of her speech. Her flesh speaks true. She lays herself bare. In fact, she physically materializes what she is thinking. She signifies it with her body. Similarly, the incarcerated, disregarded, and oppressed bodies of Karnad's reimagined female characters lend them a rebelling voice of their own. Hence, Karnad Sharmishta, who belongs to the non-Aryan Asura clan, openly declares that her indomitable desire to avenge the humiliations heaped upon her by Devyani led to use her own body as a mode of thwarting the bondages imposed on her by the Brahminical patriarchy. I quote from Yayati, Sharmishta is saying, "Yes, I got him into bed with me. That was my revenge on you. After all, as a slave, what weapon did I have but my own body?" Another non-conforming female character in this play, Chitralekha, takes this issue of asserting one's selfhood through unrestrained physicality to another extent, as she boldly refuses to accept the paternalistic whims of her father-in-law, King Yayati, who took over her husband Puru's youth after being cursed to suffer decrepitude. She seeks to dismantle the conventional ideologies regarding gender roles and sexual identities as she outrageously questions the sexual potency of her husband and invites Yayati to involve in a sexual relationship with her and fulfill the carnal desires of her reproductive body. She openly says to Yayati, "I married him because of his youth, for his potential to plant the seed of the Bharatas in my womb. He has lost that potency now. He doesn't possess any of the qualities for which I married him, but you do." So she actually pleads her father-in-law to impregnate her because her husband has lost the potency, the efficiency with which he could have done that. This unruly assertion of the fleshly longings potently enables Chitralekha to attain a subjective position and resist various forms of a patriarchal subjugation, while reversing the conventional manner of perceiving the sexed body of the gendered other. That means women, the female body. Karnad's another theatrical work, my second text, that is The Fire and the Rain, written in 1998, revisits the mythological story which deals with the rivalry between Yavakri, the son of Bharadwaja, and Paravasu, the son of Raivya, which is narrated in the Vana Parva of the Mahabharata. This transcreated tale mainly focuses on the mythical female characters like Vishakha, who is Paravasu's wife, and Nitilai, who is the tribal lover of Aravasu, whose tumultuous psychological and bodily experiences vividly illustrate how the marginalized beings of the contemporary world always find themselves caught in the cobweb of the rules, desires, social roles, and functions defined by the patriarchal society of the post-colonial world. Here, Karnad reverses the conventional interpretations of the ancient mythical story by drawing attention to Vishakha's loneliness after being abandoned by her husband Paravasu, and a subsequent sexual relationship with Yavakri. And Nitilai, who is the tribal lover of Aravasu, Nitilai's rebellious act of defying the imposed boundaries of caste, class, and religion for the love of Aravasu, a Brahmin, and then her horrific death in the hands of her brother and husband, which focuses on the contemporary social problem of honor killing, which is, again, a very prevalent problem in any post-colonial country, especially the South Asian countries. Karnad's dramatic narrative underscores Vishakha's disillusionment at being abandoned by her husband Paravasu after experiencing the marital pleasures for a year, her seduction by her former lover, Yavakri, who forces her to yield to her long suppressed desires, and her helpless rage while recounting the horrible experiences of being repeatedly raped by her father-in-law, Raivya. Karnad demonstrates how the marginalized body is often marked and shaped by different kinds of practices of containment and control by providing a detailed description of the miseries and sufferings experienced by the sexual body of Vishakha. which is used as a tool of enlightenment and education by Paravasu. And at the same time, her body is employed as a weapon of revenge by Yavakri, her former lover. Vishakha thus illustrates how, after Yavakri's departure, she was married off to Paravasu, who uses her body as a tool for attaining knowledge and enlightenment while greatly dehumanizing her. I quote from the play, The Fire and the Rain. Vishakha says, "He used my body and his own body like an experimenter, an explorer, as instruments in a search. Search for what? I never knew, but I knew he knew. Nothing was too shameful, too degrading, even too painful. Shame died in me, and I yielded. I let my body be turned inside out as he did his own. I had a sense he was leading me to something mystical, spiritual. We never talked." Vishakha silently gratifies her husband's sexual desires and allows him to use her sexualized body as an instrument of attaining spiritual fulfillment. And as a result, her fleshly body becomes utterly disgraced, tortured, and oppressed. Paravasu's mystical experiments using his wife's body points at the conventional Vedic discourses that believe that the female body serves as a sanctified symbol of socio-cultural and biological reproduction while being regulated, cultivated, and disciplined by various kinds of ritualistic practices, philosophical traditions, and ascetic movements. Then, as the play progresses, Vishakha defiantly chooses to throw away the garb of the docile, pious housewife, patiently waiting for her husband's return, and urges her former lover Yavakri to fulfill her bodily desires. Through her voice, Karnad explicitly suggests that the sexed body of the gendered other, quote unquote, which is conventionally associated with gross physicality and materiality, can also be seen as a source of knowledge and power. So I quote from The Fire and the Rain again: "I'll give you the knowledge Indra couldn't give you. My body, it's light with speech now." So Vishakha says this to Yavakri. Hence, the reimagined character of Vishakha rebelliously brings down these barriers of shame and fear by embracing her own carnal desires. And at the same time, she deliberately questions and deconstructs the Brahminical ideas of righteousness and chastity, as she finally decides to speak up against all the injustices and oppressions heaped upon her. She explicitly relates how the act of indulging into a sexual act with Yavakri became a way of escaping the horrible sexual memories of the sexual oppressions in the hands of her father-in-law Raivya. She thus exclaims, and I quote, "At least Yavakri was warm and gentle. For a few minutes, he made me forget the wizened body, the scratchy claws, and the blood cold as ice." This blazing description of Vishakha's torturous experiences, sexual exploitation in the hands of her father-in-law, explicitly point at the patriarchy's use of violence to exhibit the incontestable power of its domineering structure. You know, how the patriarchy often reinforces its powerful structure to make the marginalized feel more oppressed and more tortured and more sidelined. The dehumanized sexual other reverses the conventional Hindu notions of morality, righteousness, and chastity by exposing the bestiality, brutality, and atrocity of the phallocentric social order. Her body, which is repeatedly used, battered, bruised, humiliated, becomes a burning symbol of her violent. Hello, am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are audible, ma'am.
Actually, sorry, I got disconnected because of
Okay,
network
no,
issues.
no problem, no problem, no problem. You can continue.
So, yes, thank you so much. So, This blazing description of Vishakha's sexual exploitation in the hands of her own father-in-law explicitly point at the patriarchy's use of violence to exhibit the incontestable power of its domineering structure. So then Vishakha's body, which is repeatedly used, battered, bruised, and humiliated, becomes a burning symbol of her violent resistance as she seeks liberation from her fettered subjugation by choosing the destructive path of self-immolation. Thus, Vishakha pleads to Paravasu, I quote, "Here it comes, the crab, skirtling back to make sure I don't defile the chief priest as I did Yavakri. Grant me this favor. Please, kill me. For all your experiments, you haven't yet tried the ultimate human sacrifice. You could now." As we all know, in the Vedic texts and even in the practices of Tantra, there are mentions of human sacrifice, and Vishakha is actually referring to that. Karnad is actually referring to that, how oppressive that was, and how the body of a human being, the body of an animal, or the body of a living being is often used as a mode of attaining salvation, as a mode of pleasing the Almighty. In a startling way, her ravaged body challenges the authoritative position of her father in law by transgressively talking about his barbaric cruelty in front of her husband, Paravasu, who eventually kills his father. Raiva in an act of uncontrollable rage. Thus, on one hand, Vishakha's rebelling sexuality becomes a terrible weapon which enables her to avenge her oppressions, and on the other hand, these lines uttered by her symbolically state that dehumanized individuals who remain excluded from the religious or social ceremonies because of their unholy, disruptive, and unpredictable bodies can only enter the ritualistic premises as sacrificial elements. Vishakha's act of persuading her husband to kill her and sacrifice her body in the sacred ritual of the fire sacrifice ironically comment on the patriarchal social system, which associates the ideas of purity and chastity with the glorified concept of sacrifice. This idea becomes more prominent and striking as at the end of the meta-theatrical performance of Aravasu at the site of Yajna, his lover Nitilai's body is mutilated by her brother and husband for her outrageous act of thwarting the social ethical boundaries by eloping to be united with Aravasu. So she chooses a Brahmin boy over her caste or communal identity. So she is sacrificed by her own family in the name of honor. So I just finish my presentation right here, and I thank you. I'm very thankful to the organizers for giving me this platform and share my ideas with the respectable personalities present in this conference. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you,
And
ma'am.
here we
Thank
have
you.
Dr. Dinesh Kumar here,
Yes,
and
sir.
we
Yes,
give an
sir. I have
introduction.
joined.
Kumar, doctor, you could handle the session.
So we have, you can say, concluded the first participant, and the
Yeah, it's
next
just a first call.
participant. Yes, the second participant is Farooz Ahmad Ghani, PhD research
Yeah,
scholar, LPU Jalandhar, present in the meeting.
no, sir, but if you have questions, you can continue asking questions if there are any.
Yes, sir. Hello.
Sir, yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes,
If there are any questions from the viewers, you can ask them about
sir.
the first question.
We will ask at the end of the session. First, let them.
Oh, okay, sir.
You
Fine,
can say
fine,
yes,
fine.
yes, yes. So next participant is our V. Chandni Banu, Department of English, Shri Padmavati Mahila University, Tirupati. Present in the meeting, ma'am? Hello? Hello?
Sir, I think Shantini Banu is not there. We can go to the next person, Farooz.
Farooz Ahmad, huh?
Yeah, he's present.
LPU Jalandhar, huh? LPU, sorry, this Fagwada. Present, Farooz is present in the meeting. Hello?
So Farooz is present in the meeting. Yeah, you can.
Okay, Farooz,
Yes,
are you
yes,
listening me?
yes, yes, sir,
Getting
I'm
me?
here. Yes, sir, yes, sir.
Okay, okay. You can start with your presentation. Huh?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, and theme of resistance in the novel of Piano Teacher by Alfred Jellink.
Yelani.
Yeah, you just Foucauldian study, eh?
Yes, sir.
You just continue with your presentation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for giving me the chance to speak over here. First of all, I would like to welcome all the dignitaries. So I'm presenting my paper today. I have my supervisor, co-author of this paper, Dr. Gauhar Aman Naik, who is the assistant professor, School of Humanities, Lovely Professional University, Fagwara. So today the theme of my paper is basically, the title of the paper is the theme of resistance in the novel The Piano Teacher by Alfred Jelinek. It's a Foucauldian study. So first of all, uh, it's basically a significant affairs of humanities in the modern world that we must understand the relationship between power and resistance. It's basically Michel Foucault, who is the French philosopher, who is talking about power and resistance. Foucault says, where there is power, there is resistance. So Alfred Jelinek, who is the Austrian novelist, she has also talked about and highlighted in her narratives, particularly in her novel The Piano Teacher, through her musical flow of voices and counter voices. So she talks about the subjugated, she talks about the oppressed, she talks about those who are neglected, like the old tones of forlorn orchestra. As she says, I quote, "When I write, I have always tried to be on the side of the weak. The side of the powerful is not literature's side." So, in the novel Piano Teacher, it's an extraordinary with extraordinary linguistic zeal. She reveals the absurdity of society's cliches and their subjugating power. However, the main protagonist of the novel, Erika Hoot, she resists the tyranny of power world. She wants to escape the vicious circle of oppression and suppression she is trapped in, and she wants to break the padlocks and shackles. That's why she gives the wake-up call through her character Erika Hoot. So there are many scholars who have used the term resistance to a large variety of actions in almost all dimensions of human life, and diverse frameworks as Hollander and Inverhard demonstrated how everything from revolutions to hairstyles has been described as resistance. So resistance could be having a different scales and sizes. It can be an act of individual, it can be in groups, it can be limited to a particular region, it can be generalized as well. So we must say that it's basically where there is power, there is always resistance to it. So similarly, we have Erika Hoot. She's under the dominance of her harridan mother. She wants to escape the relationships because she has been under her for several times. She is now 32 years age, without marriage, without husband, without her own, we must say, a house, without her own world. Basically, her mother is so dominant at that point. She never wants her to have relationships outside her house with anybody. Whenever she goes to conservatory to teach students, she is being called several times by her mother, whether she is there. And she's even whenever she leaves the conservatory, she's being, we must say, given a time. Within 30 minutes, she should reach her home. So this kind of, we must say, curtailment of her feathers, her emotions. She wants to go away from that very relationship. So she resists. Even her mother never allows her to go for shopping to have, we must say, we must say, gowns for her marriage, to bring that, to buy that. She even never lets her to have her closet full of these clothes, fashionable clothes. But Erika never wants to be there. She goes and buys and puts it in her closet. And many a times her mother comes and she sells them. Even she wants her to sell these things so that she should not go for the marriage. So Erika is being totally, we must say, reduced to a mere tissue paper. Even We see Jelinek as basically an iconoclast whose writings have always been blamed to be winning unenjoyable public pornography. But Erika here, we must say, resists that very thing. She never allows, we must say, her mother to be always dominant over here. She believes, even Jelinek believes, that power and aggression to be the principal driving force of the relationships. I want to conclude over here because the time is too limited. I want to sum up it here that basically Jelinek presents before us the modern tactics of power. She raises the issues of escaping her Erika's mother, decorating her closet with wedding gowns and decorated dress, or excursion peep shows. This is all a type of resistance over here. And in the modern context, we see that people are not talking about the emotions of the people. What actually a person should have and need is there. We never want to give heed to these emotions and we must say feelings. So similarly, Elfriede Jelinek has used the language of violence over here. We must say, as I quote over here, to resist adopting the charges of specular or mimetic violence. Elfriede's language is basically violent over here. She sketches Erika Hoot's brazen feelings of resistance in a way it terrifies conscious of the readers as well. Thank you. Thank you for the session.
Thank you. Good presentation. And the next participant is Rex Lunin Nirmal, RS. Present in the meeting?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Rex, what is the title of your paper?
Okay, let's begin my section. Good afternoon, everyone. Actually, my name is Rex Lumin Nirmal. I am doing my research under the guidance of Dr. J. Chesulada from Annai Velangani College. My topic is self-motivation is a key to success, an analysis of John Green's Fault in Our Stars and Turtle All the Way Down. Actually, my paper aims to analyze the behavior and motivational aspect of characters in John Green's Fault in Our Stars and Turtles All the Way Down. The paper tries to combine and examines the equalization of characters in both the novels. In both the novel, the protagonists are female characters. In Turtle All the Way Down, the protagonist is Asa Holmesley. And in the same way, in Fault in Our Stars, the protagonist is Hazel Grace Lancaster. In my paper, endeavors to explore the suffering, struggle, and self-motivation behavior of characters in these two novels. It also projects their life achievement. It's considered as a destination. It's displayed in the novel. And the paper indicates both the characters as self-motivated and psychologically strongest persons, as the author focused in the novels. Okay, let's begin. Actually, the self-motivation is the power of force that makes an individual to travel beyond the target or destination. Well, consider the destination means everyone need to achieve. That's a simple thing. But if it is in a critical situation, destination is very much important. Well, consider in the adolescent stage, actually the author focused the characters from the adolescent stage. We consider as a teenage. Here in the novel, both the characters are from teenage. And the Hazel Grace Lancaster from Fault in Our Stars and Asa Holmesley from Turtles All the Way Down. Both of them have the disease. Let us go to the novel Fault in Our Stars. Actually, the Fault in Our Stars is based on the adolescence novel. Actually, the novel mainly focused the female character. The author deals with the female protagonist, Hustle Grace Lanchester. In the novel Fault in Stars, Hustle Grace Lanchester is an adolescent girl who suffers from cancer, but she likes to behave as a common girl. Actually, you may all know cancer how it is, but while all those things, the protagonist decides she may die or anything something else, but she like to do as a common girl. That's the spirit. I mean, it's considered as a teenage spirit. That's the good thing. In the same way, everyone like to be as a common person, or everyone need, and in the same way, everyone has the destination. In the same way, the author Hustle Grace Lanchester like to meet the author of an imperial application. Actually, basically, the main concept is the author of Fault in Our Stars, Hustle Grace Lanchester, is interested to read the book An Imperial Affliction, because while in the rare condition, she can't able to go outside as in a free of mind or in a free way, because it is a uncomfortable situation. So for his mind comfort, she like to read the books. While reading all those things, she is interested in the Imperial Affliction book. But actually, the main concept is the novel is unfinished novel. So this is the main thirsty of her. So while reading all those things, she want to achieve, or she need to find the ending of the novel. So she decides to meet the author. That's the main concept of the protagonist. So here is the self-motivational aspect is focused in her life, because actually as a normal person, it is possible to travel many more distance, maybe 1,000 or 1,500 kilometers. But as considered as a protagonist, she is a cancer patient. She can't able to live without the oxygen tank tube. Yeah, and the two tubes are connected in his nose. By that only she can able to live. That's his critical situation. Without oxygen tank, she never live within a fracture. She will die within a fraction of seconds. This is her situation. But it's in its rare condition also, she likes to travel so more distance to meet the author of an imperial application. Actually, her parents and his friends also neglect from the beginning. But her compulsion and the concentration regarding her destination, they accept his targets. So finally, with all those situations, she reached the protagonist of an imperial application, that unfinished novel. This is the highest achievement of the protagonist. Actually, the self-motivation concept, why it's focused in this character means, because he is a patient, cancer patient, but she decides what she wants to achieve. She decides she needs to find a destination. She decides she wants to meet the author of the novel. She decides to find the end of the end of the novel. She decides she want to find the conclusion of the novel. This is ambition. But actually, while compared to the cancer patients, it is impossible. They don't have the ambition, and they don't have the life. It's a common thing. But while in this aspect, she reaches the person and find the destination. It's considered self-motivational spirit. It's a good thing. See, done. In the same way, the other novel, Turtle All the Way Down. Here also, in the Turtles All the Way Down, the protagonist is Asa Holmesley. Actually, here also, John Green focused the female protagonist as Asa Holmesley. You may consider something, actually, if a novel means based on male protagonist or female protagonists. But as when we consider this John Green's novel, he also gives importance to the female protagonist and their sufferings. That's the good thing he focused in the novel. Yes. In the same way, in this Churchill All the Way Town, the protagonist is considered a self-motivational character. Because, well, consider her, she's an ordinary person in his life. It's let's consider her as she's a poor girl. But, okay. And, by the way, she's an adolescent girl. Here, there is a target provided by the police that the person, those who find the missing billionaire, they get a reward. That's the announcement. Well, consider in the way of poor person or in an ordinary person's life, it is a reward means it's a greater thing. So they announce if anyone finds that missing billionaire, they will provide the reward. If let's considers me also, it's a good thing. I am interested to find the person and get the reward. It's a common thing. I am good. But while considers a protagonist, she is also affected a disease. She is affected by two diseases. Actually, she has a fungus disease, fungus infection in the stomach. So, and in the same way, she has an allergy. What kind of disease? She don't know, but like an allergy, the blood comes from the fingers moreover times. But she hide all those things and try to find the man who is missing. Here, the author focused about, here I am focused the self-motivational aspect concept of the protagonist. Because even this is rare condition, no one willing to achieve or no one willing to do something apart from the level. But while considered as disabled people, it's a great thing. Because they give the more effort what they need to achieve. That's focused in the novel. Well, in the same way, while come to the concept of his disease, he never said anyone about the disease and try to hide all the times in his public place or in his home or while spend a party with her friends. All those times she hide everything, and his concentration is based on to find the billionaire. Actually, the billionaire concept is not considered as a good man. So everyone is eagerly waiting to find and make a punishment. That's the concept. So in this billionaire concept also, his bodyguards hide some other place. That's the main thing. The policemen announce the reward. But even though in this critical situation, even though his all those struggles, she tried to find, and at last she find the person who is missing. That's the spirit. That's the destination. Here the self-motivation concept is clearly analyzed and focused through these characters. So we'll consider these two novels, Fault in Our Stars and Churchill All the Way Down. Both the protagonists are, describe all those things about the equalization of these characters. Because both the protagonists are female protagonists, the Green focused or the John Green focused, and in the both novels, both of the characters are based on adolescent stage. And in the same way, in both of the novels, the disease may be different, but both of them have the disease. And in both of the novels, both of the protagonists have the destination. And the same and moreover thing is, they had the self-motivated mindset. That's the great thing, because they are in the critical situation. Actually, we'll consider that if anyone has a small diseases also, they are not willing to do something. But while consider all those characters, these two characters made a great effort to their work or made great effort to their destination. That's a great thing. And they complete the target or they complete the destination. That's the adolescence concept Green focused in the novel. And finally, we can consider here both characters, Hustle Grace Lanchester from Fault in Our Stars and Asa Holmesley from Turtles All the Way Down. Both of the characters are considered as self-motivated characters while showing the behavior in their lifestyles. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you all for hearing me.
Hello, thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
And the next participant in this session we have B.S. Deepa, research scholar, present in the session.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, very good afternoon. And your title of your paper is Victimization to Transition, a journey to self-realization in Anita Naya's Ladies Cop. I think this is the title of your paper.
Yeah, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So you can start with your presentation, ma'am. You can start.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Deepa, research scholar of Annai Velangani College, Thaleyavatam, doing my research under the guidance of Dr. F. Meena Teresa, Associate Professor of Annai Velangani College, Thaleyavatam. So, in the Indian scenario, we are well aware of how the humans are affected of the patriarchal norms, the sociological limitations, etc. I would like to present on how Anita Nair has depicted the affected characters and the struggles undergone by them, and finally, how they redeem themselves to new individuals in her novel, Ladies Coupe. Am I audible, sir? Sir,
Yes,
am I
you are
audible?
very much audible. The
Thank
voice
you,
is a bit low.
Okay, sir.
Okay, you can continue. You can continue.
Now, am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Please
Fiction
continue.
by women. Okay. Fiction by women writers constitutes a major segment of the contemporary writing in English, which provides insight, a wealth of understanding, a reservoir of meanings, and the basis for discussion. Through their eyes, one can see a different world and can realize the potentials of human achievements. In Ladies Coupe, Anita Nair throws light to women's journey from self-sacrifice to self-realization, self-denial to self-assertion, and self-affirmation. Nair picturizes five ladies apart from the protagonist Aguila who expresses their voice against the patriarchal oppressions and the societal conventions. My paper attempts to trace out how the victimized souls they undergo a transition in their life through self-realization. Naya is obsessed with haunting themes, and her characters are normally victims of sufferings and struggles. Through her characters, she picturizes how suffering and struggle are parts of human life. Ladies Coupe is very simple in form, but it's very profound in thought. The formation of characters and the development of them into mature individuals who realizes their self eventually is followed by a painful course of sufferings in their life. Well, you know that this novel is about a train journey undergone by the chief protagonist of the novel, Akhila, namely Akhilandeshwari, who wants an escape from all her burdens and is in a search for her inner strength, freedom, and above all, answers to many questions that haunts her. Women in Indian society are victims of humiliation and exploitation. In the ladies' compartment, Akhila meets five other women And during the course of their journey, she understands their life of struggle and their answers to the questions of identity and happiness. The train journey becomes a symbol of introspective journey within each other. Akhila, whose life has been taken out of her control, is actually a spinster aged 45. Like um, who plays the role of a daughter, sister, and she is the only provider of her family after the death of her father. She had never been allowed to live her life. She had not been given the opportunity to get married and have a family and a life of her own. As tradition dictates, she's rather expected to provide. Nair uses the character like Akhila's mother to express how women are strong conservatives of the patriarchal structure that has framed strict social, political, and economic limitations on women. Drusilla Connell states that one can have a glimpse of women as a free individual when the cultural, psychic, and legal laws terminate the inequality between men and women. Patriarchal domination has silenced most of the women by drawing out norms considered as taboos for women. It also prevents women from expressing or acting their own roles in accordance to their desire. Akhila is a Brahmin girl and she is brought up in such a conservative Brahmin family who finds it difficult to communicate her desires of marriage even to her mother and her family members. Her mother could sense her daughter's feelings, but she pretends as if she doesn't understand for the sake of making her as the only responsible earning member of the family. After her mother's death, she faces some bitter experiences with her married sister and brothers. And finally, she gets into a decision of escaping to the land's end, perhaps to the land's other end. With all hunger for life and experiences, she dreams of a great escape from the patriarchal world into the vast space where no restriction would constrain her life. Her dreams colors when she finds herself with 5 other women in the ladies' coupe of the Kanyakumari Express. The 5 ladies, Sheila Vasudevan, Prabha Devi, Janagi Prabhagar, Margaret Paulraj, and Marie Korundu. She finds it interesting to know a new definition of life from each one of them. Each one of their lives throws light on the truth, and they have been silenced by the male members around them who clings on to the patriarchal norms as per their convenience. The striking feature is that they could freely open up their hearts to totally strange ladies rather than to their family members. They feel secure from all psychological taboos. Noteworthy factor in this is that they all belonged to different age groups. The first person, Janagi was actually unable to accept her husband soon after her marriage, not of shyness but of strangeness. Janagi could never express her emotions neither in her youth nor at old age. Janaki had random pieces of conversation about her son, neighbor, or a film. Though she understands the tense nature of her son, she fails to express her dislike of him, and the same becomes the reason for the detachment from him. Finally, she tells that for a woman, there is always a man to look after, father, either father, brother, husband, and maybe finally son. From Margaret Shanti, Akhila is realizing that a woman doesn't really need a man's companion. Margaret is actually a gold medalist in MSc chemistry. She feels despondent after her marriage with Ebenezer Paulraj. Her hatred for him is on his urge when she is forced by him for an abortion. Her husband's supreme powers upon her and his despicable coterie becomes the target of her rebellion. She decides to make use of his weakness for food and hence she opposed his stand with food items fried in ghee, and very soon she saw him becoming quiet and avoiding the kotari and books, and he is paying attention to her. She is experiencing the happiness after giving birth to a girl baby. So from her narration, Akhila is realizing that love is a wild beast that needs domestication. The next character is Prabha Devi. She is also narrating her traumatic experiences of her married life. Jagdish was her husband, was a heir of a prosperous diamond merchant. The treatment of her parents and her husband compels her to think, I quote, am I not a person by myself? Am I to be treated as a mere extension of someone else's personality? Unquote. She turns herself into submissive, docile, stops caring for herself, and denied her feminism. Her life becomes monotonous and mechanical. She is transforming herself to modern with a certain tilt in her walk, seducing him and flirting with Pramod. But when Pramod attempts sexually, she is shocked and reverts back to her original state of a devoted wife. So from her, Akhila learns that she has to triumph over her innate timidity and reprimand traditions. The next one is Marikorinde, and from Marikorinde's life and experiences teaches about the art of swimming into the current of ocean instead of being cast away on its banks. Born in a poor family, she is forced to do odd jobs at Chettiar's Bangla. The gloomy side of her life starts when she is raped by Murugeshan, one among the family member of this Chettiar family. She was raped at the mangrove on the night before Pongal. Victimized by the social restrictions of feminine and constrained by the innate fear, she dares not to speak about the injustice caused to her, not even to her dearest mother, and she pretends as if nothing had happened. Unfortunately, her pregnancy compels her to speak about the beastly act of Murugeshan to her mother and Sujata Akka, the Chettiar's daughter-in-law. For no fault of her, everyone expected her to be ashamed of and silenced the matter. She was 19 years when her dreams were to ashes, and from then, hatred towards her own son and bitterness was the result in her. She drastically is accusing the patriarchy, and her description about the patriarchy stuns Akhila. The next one is Sheila, who is a young girl who was warned by her grandmother to her mother about the danger of allowing her to play badminton with the neighborhood uncle Nasa. She didn't dare to speak openly about Celine's pregnancy through her father's friend. Though Sheila was just 5 years old then, she was able to understand her grandmother's implications. In her teenage, she too sensed the same danger through Nasa. Once at Hasina's house, Nasa attempted to wipe sweat on her upper lip, and another time he knotted the loose bows of her blouse and she merely felt her breath lodge in her throat. And when she saw the hurt in Hasina's and her mother's eyes, shame wrapped itself around her. Unquote. All the three couldn't attempt a voice against him. She couldn't protest against his action. Instead, she stopped her visit to Hasina's house. So, after reaching Kanyakumari, Akhila is discovering that she likes to be alone. So, from all the experiences that she learned from the other characters, she is discovering that, or she self-realizes that she likes to be alone. She has no more doubts what her life will be if she lives alone. So she is inviting a young man to her room whom she meets at the beach. And then she radiates the heat of fire. Before she is leaving Kanyakumari, she makes a call to Hari and he answers her call. Finally, Akhila represents an unconventional woman who plunges into action through the character Sanitha Naya implies the importance of breaking the moral and psychic limitation that handicaps feminine expressions and actions. Thank you, sir.
Have you completed, ma'am, your presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay.
Thank you, sir.
So, so we had 5 participants in this session, but one was, you can say, one could not present the paper, V. Chandani Banu. And the first presenter was Dipanvita Naskar, who presented the paper on the topic, The Gendered Body in the Post-Colonial Mytho-Poetic Drama of Study of Karnad, Yayati and the Fire and the Rain. So she has very much, you can say, in a very excellent manner, she has projected the post-colonial, you can say, image of the, you can say, women in that particular era. And the next participant was Farooz Ahmad Jani. The theme of resistance in the novel of piano teacher in the Alfred Jelnik Foucauldian study, where while you can say attempting his paper, he has, you can say, justified the title of the, you can say, what he has chosen for his presentation. And the fourth presenter was Rex Leonin Nirmal, and the, you can say, topic was self motivation is the key to success and analysis of John Green's uh, Fault in Our Star and Turtles All the Way Down. So this paper was also, you can say, of very good, you can say, quality, and very in-depth study was made by the author. And the fifth participant was B.S. Deepa. The title was Victimization to Transition, a journey of self-realization in Anita Nayar's Ladies Code. And the presentation was excellent, and she has touched almost all the aspect and justified the title that she has chosen for the presentation. And I congratulate all the participants in the session to for their you can say beautiful presentation, and you can say justifying their titles that they have, you can say, chosen for the presentation. And yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. And thanks to all the participants as well.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Deepanvita,
sir.
yes, yes. And most of you were
Thank you,
the
sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
research scholars from the universities pursuing your doctorate, I think. Rex Leonin and Dipanvita Naskar, PhD scholar, and B.S. Deepa, research scholar,